Hello everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is Chris from Cinema Trailer News, and I'm going to talk about here the two post-credit scenes in Thor Love and Thunder. So let's start with the first post-credit scene. So Zeus is pretty damn upset with Thor. Thor has that way about him. So in the first end credit scene for Thor Love and Thunder, Zeus sent his son Hercules to get his revenge, and we briefly see the new Hercules for the MCU, who says yes, father. And first of all, I think a lot of you may not recognize who that actor is, and I want to assure you that if you are the few people or I wonder how many people do watch Ted Lasso. I think a pretty good amount, but Apple TV is little lower than the other streaming service. But I will hope that the most of you know who Brett Ghosting is. Now, and anyone who knows who he is knows that he's an excellent choice for the role of Hercules, especially in the world of Thor, dreamed up by Taika Waititi and Chris Hemsworth. I mean, Roy Kent on Ted Lasso is the manliest footballer there is. With a benchmark for saying the F word, but he's also not afraid to get in touch with his feelings, and all while he's still retaining his Roy Kent magic. Great character, fabulous character. Ghosting, in fact, is an Emmy winner in the role, and the hilarious, gruff, monotone voice he is created for Roy Kent. If you were his assistant speech, he doesn't sound like that. That's not his actual voice. He created that persona for the character. Nice work. And that persona is a perfect fit with Hercules, and he sure enough uses that Roy Kent voice in this scene. And I think that gruff approach will be a nice contrast with Chris Hemsworth upbeat Thor. You have the darker coloring on Brett Ghosting, and like the more serious approach, and then you have the blonder, softer guy attitude with Chris Hemsworth bringing to the table, and I think it's just perfect. Hercules and Thor in the comics have like a love and hate relationship. Sometimes they fight each other, but sometimes they fight someone else together. I don't even think that Zeus and Thor will stay mad at each other for that long. I mean, Thor reveals in Thor Love and Thunder that he's a big fan and based a lot of what he does on the Greek god of thunder. And I thought that was great. It was like Gozen with Captain America. And I thought Chris Hemsworth did that well. He's like, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a big fan of his. I took a lot of inspiration for Zeus' work. So he pretty particularly assessed when Zeus sends somebody after him. Although I think he already know that they said don't meet your heroes, and I guess that applies to gods too, because that meeting did not go well. Okay, so that's Brett Ghosting. He's going to do a fabulous job. Now Hercules first appeared in the page of Marvel Comics back in 1965 as a rival of Thor in the classic ongoing title Journey into the Mystery, which is still published to this day. So it makes total sense to introduce Hercules into the MCU in a Thor storyline. This is kind of the start that Kevin Feige gets right, and while he makes a lot of changes, people for the most part get him image of being comics accurate. In the comics, Hercules is who Marvel calls when they want to deliver a great fight for the fans. He takes on Thor, the Thing from Fantastic Four, Hulk, She-Hulk, who he also dealized with. I would really love to see that happen in the NCU. She's coming to the NCU too. Speaking of relationship, there was also a variant of Hercules who was in a romantic relationship with his universe Wolverine. Now, I don't think Hercules and Wolverine will be a couple in the MCU, although I can see reference to that at some point because one of the better publicized developments for the characters over the last few years, and a lot of fans are happy to see it. Will be a lot. And so again, that you may want to pay homage to that, especially considering how progressive Taika Waititi is, which you can see from Thor Love and Thunder. And also Hercules, remember he's a classically Greek character. Now Zeus is depicted in this movie as having male and female handmaids. So I think there's a very strong chance that Taika Waititi Hercules could be LGBT, maybe bi like Loki, because again I would like to see him date She-Hulk. I think that would be fantastic superhero couple, and especially Tatiana Maslany and Brett Goldstein will knock it out of the park. Brett Goldstein in this world, I'm telling you, he's such a gift, and so glad that Marvel locked her down before any other franchise got to him. Also in Marvel Comics, he's a Ranger, brought in to spice up storylines, not just with action but last, but he's never however been a main player. The character he's teamed up with the most really have all for a extended period of time is Amadeus Cho, a teenager super genius dog lover. He became an ongoing Marvel character in the World War Hulk. So he's supposed to be a really technical. He had adventures with Hercules. He's technically a Hulk area character, so he could show up in the Hulk storyline or could end up showing up with Hercules. Now Hercules, as I'm trying to point out to you, could jump to all these different corners of the MCU like he does in the comic. Thor, the thing from Fantastic Four, the Hulk stuff. Hercules could go to all these places, which make him a very exciting character. So that was post-credit scene number 1. Let's talk about post-credit scene 2, featuring Jane Foster, the return of Honda, and Valhalla. Whoa. Now, if you're just excited about Honda and Valhalla, well, then you don't know a lot about Jane Foster's and what happens to the character in the comics, because I think that is very exciting as well. I'm going to explain it all to you right now. So according to Norse mythology, when you die, you go to one of the 9 realms, Hell, with one L, ruled by Hela. That's where she was in the flashback in Thor Ragnarok, where she struck down all the Valkyries. And on that note, if you die in battle, then like the Valkyries did, you go to Valhalla. One party always seems depicted at the end of Thor Love and Thunder, a Norse where retreat, which maybe is having a party. Also, where James appeared when she first materialized, it looks a lot to me like exactly the bridge into Asgard from Thor Love and Ragnarok. So that was the story, of course, but that's why they have New Asgard. But it made me wonder if it looks the way in Valhalla. So if you are homesick, maybe it's the same place but on another plane. I thought that was interesting. They use the same render files. Basically, they like bring it up back on the green screen. So we'll see about that. But then, anyway, this end credit scene says 2 very interesting storylines going forward, which might be intertwined. I'm going to talk about the potential of a Disney Plus show I will watch, and I think it sounds great. So the next chapter for James Foster herself, but also established that nobody really dies in the Thor corner of the MCU, especially if you die in battle. What a loophole. Honda is in Valhalla. The Valkyrie are probably in Valhalla. Odin is there, I bet, even though he didn't die in battle. Just arguing with your sounds count. But Valhalla is supposed to be ruled by Odin, so he likely getting free car. And then also, what about Freya? Does she get in because she knows Odin and she's Odin's wife? Thor never look for his mother, never look for his dad, and I think he can a god can only get into. I'll be curious if you can visit Valhalla. Sometimes in the comment they do, and Thor's daughter could be the bridge to that. So it's very interesting. There's a lot to explore here. And I want to point out that both the mythology, sometimes Freya has her own version of Haven, so maybe that's what she is. Sif's arm is probably there, as Thor pointed out in the movie. And Loki looks like he didn't have to feel so bad. It seems when they show him the TVA clip reel, because he certainly had gone to Valhalla and taken on Thanos. In fact, I wonder if there is a version of him in Valhalla, because the Loki from the series, the TVA variant, is from the Avengers storyline. Now Honda, I see a reunion with his son in the future, and you don't keep Idris Elba on the bench. I'm very encouraged they might actually do something good with Honda. And they've been trying, but they haven't worked out. But him co-starring in a Disney Plus series with Natalie Portman sounds pretty good to me. I mean, I don't know if they could try and cram this in Thor 5, but there's so much to open the door here, exciting, and to me it deserves the 6th episode. They are only meeting until the last 2, and then it's amazing. So let's start Jane Foster. Now in the movie, when she dies in Thor's arm, Mjolnir no longer able to hold back her cancer. She disappears Odin style in the gold dust, and we materializes in Valhalla. And Jane Foster, not the mighty Thor, and that's an important distinction. Like, being the mighty Thor is what you would think that qualifies her for Valhalla, but yet when she rematerializes in her human form. Now Thor has taken Mjolnir back after the death. In the comments showing Jane Foster wasn't Thor for long. Actually, about a year, so it was pretty long, but yes, Thor eventually was worthy again in the comments, and it was a different storyline, a different circumstance. But Jane Foster, because she gained so much popularity with everyone who read the Mighty Thor comic book story, they turned her into Valkyrie. Right now, she can be a Valkyrie in the MCU. We already got a Valkyrie. That's Tessa Thompson. But actually, her character is named Brunhilde, and she simply is a Valkyrie, and Jane Foster could become one too. And I think they could go back referring to Tessa Thompson as Brunhilde. I think there is a foreshadowing here with Brunhilde and Jane becoming fast friends in Thor Love and Thunder, with Brunhilde even saying that Jane made her feel like she was her Valkyrie sister back. And in the comments, Jane Foster Valkyrie title in that comic, well, that character is a Valkyrie who's drawn to look a lot awful like Tessa Thompson, and I believe it's called Brunhilde, and as just as the character as well. So I see a very clear path forward here. Now Jane's Valkyrie has a lot of cool powers and acumen. She wields the old weapon, which can become any weapon she can think of. This glowing gold energy, but it can also give her glowing gold wings, which looks pretty awesome. But there's even more. She has something called depth perception. Get it? It's a take on depth perception. Very clever. But depth perception is that, remember that Valkyrie escort foreign heroes to Valhalla, as recently depicted in the Northman even, while Jane in the comics can see how and when the person will die, but just look at that. In fact, she can see the whole line. It's kinda depressing, but we actually found some very interesting ways to use it. I recently read a story where Jane could tell where a bomber was, because suddenly everyone's in the area she was, had the deaths move on to Emily as he entered the area. So that was a very interesting way to find someone. Also, she could tell he was a robot, an android, so she can tell who didn't have a soul. In that storyline, she also saw a regular human woman pass away when she was carrying the crowd. And that was a woman who had Norwegian ancestry. So when she passed away, her spirit could see Jane as a Valkyrie, and Jane escorted her to the afterlife. And that's something that Jane Foster could end up doing in the MCU, which again could be kind of depressing, but it's a way to go with the character. And then she not only has a flying horse, but one who can talk. I mean, there's a doesn't got a flying horse in the MCU, but it doesn't talk. This all sounds very good to me, and I think that Jane Foster empathy is very this take in the character. I think is a much better fit with Natalie Portman's ability as an actor, and it just did not make for a very good Mighty Thor. And it's interesting. I think that the Mighty Thor, James Foster Thor, was more compelling on the page than Valkyrie, but I think that I see great potential for Natalie Portman in this role. So that's what I think of the two post-credit scene. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, consider subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.